cost of many mistakes.
So if you've just got the OnePlus Nord 5 and you're looking for the first things to do, well, you're in the right place. And if you want to see the best features that this phone has, well, I have made a video specifically to show my top 10 favorite Oxygen OS features that are available on the OnePlus Nord 5. I'll link that video at the end. Anyway, here are 15 of the most important settings to take a look at on day one to make sure that you're not missing out, and also to make sure that you're optimizing your phone and maximizing its potential on day one. And trust me, you don't want to find out a year later that you could have been using this stuff since day one, because then you'll be like, son of a... Tip number one, jump into your settings and scroll down to where you see display and brightness. And here is where you will find the option to change the screen resolution. By default, OnePlus do dial this back to save battery power, but this phone has a huge battery, so in my opinion, it's worth scaling up the resolution to the best that it can be on day one. If later on down the line you feel like the battery is running out a little bit too quickly, you can always dial it back. Or if you want the best of both worlds, you could set it to auto select. There is a second step to this tip. If we go back one and then scroll down to the refresh rate, I've got it set to standard just because that's what I need to do whilst filming to stop the phone from flickering. But on your OnePlus Nord 5, you will likely have auto select selected by default, which is fine. But this phone is fast. In fact, it's very fast, and it has a 144 Hz display, which very few other phones have. And if you want to see your display at its best, then switch this to high. And if you want to go real pro, you can go to app specific refresh rates and choose which refresh rates are used. And if you spend a little bit of time doing this, you could recoup a little bit of that battery life that you're using on dialing up the resolution. Anyway, tip two, there is another display setting that's switched off by default on this phone that you might want to take a look at because it can improve the color tones on phone. Go back into your settings and scroll down and go back to display and brightness. Make sure your auto brightness is on. I've switched it off just because I'm filming. But if you scroll down a bit more, you'll see the adaptive tone option. This will be switched off on day one. If you switch this on, the phone will use its light sensors to adjust the color tone based off of the lighting in your environment. And once again, OnePlus do give you some pro options when it comes to this. If you go to screen color mode, you might prefer the natural look, or if you are a real pro, you can go to pro mode. These are more cinematic colors. And then you've also got brilliant if you want things to be even more vibrant. And there's a bunch of other tweaks that you can adjust below, but you have to turn off adaptive tone. I'm going with the DCI P3 colors. Okay, this is a Google phone and it's got a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor. And this specific processor is very well equipped to handle AI tasks. However, there are some settings switched off that you need to switch on to unlock its AI superpowers. So if we jump into the settings right here, scroll all the way down and we're going to accessibility and convenience. Scroll all the way to the bottom of this page and here you will see AI search. Tap here. This will be switched off by default. If you switch this on, this unlocks some brand new tools and these will help you with finding various things, for example, files, settings, notes that you've created, and of course, calendar events and the MindSpace. If you're not familiar with MindSpace and you haven't set it up and you're not quite sure how to use it, then definitely check out part 2 of this 2-part video series because I explain that in a bit more detail there. Now the AI search is switched on. This little search bar here at the bottom has been upgraded. If you tap here, it gives you some examples of what it can do at the top. For example, how do I set clocks for 2 cities? If you tap that, it acts like a search query and the AI will tell you exactly how to do it. And it will even jump straight into the settings where you can make those changes. And you can also make use of voice search here. So you can actually ask it to pull up all of your notes on AI becoming sentient. AI sentient. In this case, it searched through the files and found these notes here within the OnePlus Notes app, which I extracted earlier on using MindSpace. So once again, we're going back into the settings. We're going back to accessibility and convenience. We're scrolling all the way to the bottom of this page. And then here you should see AI Voice Scribe. On this page, you'll have to grant it the permissions that it needs in order to work. So just make sure you do that. Now this will come into play in various locations on the phone. And one of them, just for example, is the voice recorder. I've started a recording right here. You can see it's running at the top here. Now let's say I'm recording a lecture or a lesson, something that I need to take notes on and use for reference later on. This is where Voice Scribe can come into play. And the great thing about Voice Scribe is it can actually extract information like dates and times. So if I say 30th of August is your deadline for when you should subscribe to the channel, then it can actually extract that information and actually present it as a bullet point. So just to show you, I'm going to stop the recording right here. I'm going to go to the recording, and as soon as you hit save, you'll see the option to rename the recording, but you'll also see a little tick box underneath to generate a summary. You can do this later on, but it's just quicker if you do it here. So I'm generating a summary of this, and this can translate foreign languages, which is really quite handy, and there's quite a lot of languages to choose from. And at the top, you can see it's now generating a summary using that AI Scribe feature. Once it's done that, it's created a little note right here, which you can tap on. And there we go, it's created a little summary of that voice recording. And if you want to, you can actually grab these voice recordings and add them to your home screen in the form of a note, like so. And the AI Scribe is capable of way more than that, and you will start to discover these things as you go along, but you won't if it's not active, so definitely check that setting. Okay, this next one is kind of a fun one, and it's quite exclusive to OnePlus devices. I highly recommend you set this up on day one. Go into your settings, scroll all the way down to accessibility and convenience again. This time we're going to scroll down until you see gestures and motions. There are a lot of fun settings here to play around with, but we're going to go to this top one, screen off gestures. So most of these is self-explanatory, but what I want to show you here are these ones at the bottom that can be mapped. So if you switch these all on, when you draw an upward V, we can launch a specific app, and you can set this to open pretty much any app that you want. For example, an upward V could be the camera. The M could be for money, so we can set that up to the Google Wallet, and then the W could also be for wallet, but we're going to set it up for, I don't know, let's say voice recorder. So now when the screen is fully off and you draw an upward V on the screen, this prompts you to open the phone and straight away jumps into the camera app. And then when I draw an M for money on the off screen, I can unlock the device, jump straight into the Google Wallet. Okay, so this next one is for anyone who might be a superhero and has a secret identity, or if you just happen to have a work profile on various apps. So check this one out. Go into your settings, scroll down until you see apps, tap there. Here you will find the app cloner tool. If you tap on this, you can actually choose what apps you want to clone. Let's just say Facebook because it's here by default. This creates a duplicate of Facebook, which can be used independently from the original one. And obviously, if it's Instagram or X or anything like that, just go to other apps, select the apps that you want to clone and switch on the feature. So now that you set it up, when you go to your app drawer, you'll see there's actually 2 Facebook apps, and the cloned one will have this little symbol next to it so that you know that that's the duplicate account. So this is a great tool to use if you want to keep your work life and your social life separate. Now this next one is just a quick one, and it's something that I do by default with every new phone that I get, and it's already in play right now, you probably noticed. But if you pinch the home screen right here, you will see you have a bunch of options at the bottom, and the layout one is the one that I always change. And I change it to have the maximum amount of apps per screen, and that's just so that I don't have to swipe left and right so much. The display on this phone is big enough for 5x6, but if you do have really thick fingers, then maybe you want to keep that on the smaller grid size. But even if you do switch to this, you can actually go in to the icons and change the size of the icons as well. And as you can see, I've actually got mine set to the maximum size here. Now the OnePlus Nord 5 does have a big display, and if you have apps near the top of any of your screens, you might find it hard to reach them. And there are a couple of ways to do this, including a really cool one, which I've added to part 2 of this video series. I'll show you the basic one because it's important you know the basics. So if we go back to the settings, scroll all the way down again to accessibility and convenience. This seems to be where most of the good stuff lives. On this page right here, if you swipe down a little bit, you'll see the one-handed mode. This is switched off by default. If you switch this on, now when you're on a page and there's stuff at the top and you're holding your phone with one hand, all you need to do is swipe down between the middle app at the bottom and the little line here, and that brings down the top half of the display. And just to show you that this does work with one hand, you swipe down here between the app and the line, like that, and then tap the top to make it go back. Okay, so remember the app cloner trick where you can create secret identities on various apps? Well, what if you could set up your entire phone to have a secret identity? Wouldn't that be cool? Well, I'm going to show you how to do that and how to use it very easily on a daily basis if you need to. So go into your settings, scroll down till you see security and privacy, tap there. If anything does not look good here and there's any warnings popping up, then yeah, definitely look at that straight away. But that's not what I want to show you here. This is what I want to show you. If you scroll down all the way to the bottom of this page, there's a hidden tool called System Cloner. Tap on that and get started. Now what you can do here is create a separate password and a separate biometric login specifically for this clone space. And it's very important that you use a different passcode and a different fingerprint for this. So for me, my first finger and my thumb on my right hand are set up for my normal space, the everyday one. So I'm going to register my thumb on my left hand to activate this one. And now the clone space is set up, and you'll notice when you do this, the home screen will be just like a brand new phone. You do have the options here to receive notifications from the main system. You can also set up an icon here to quickly switch back and forth. And if you did create clone apps from the tip earlier, you can import them straight over here into the clone space. So when you're out fighting crime, you can unlock the phone with your thumbprint that goes to the clone space, and that jumps straight to that. And whenever you want to jump back into the regular system, just unlock with one of your regular biometric unlock methods. And that jumps straight back into the original account. Okay, so the OnePlus Nord 5 has an amazingly powerful chipset, but did you know that it's not performing at its best straight out of the box? So if you want to unlock its full performance and you don't mind sacrificing a little bit of battery power, well then you should probably do this. Go to Settings, then go to Battery, and at the top here you will see Battery Mode. Out of the box it will be on balanced mode, but if you want the maximum power, then you can set it to high performance mode. And since your power will be running out a little more quickly, what you might want to do is switch this setting on. Also go to charging settings and enable smart rapid charging. And of course, rapid charging can affect battery life in the long run. So there is another setting that you can switch on to help protect your phone. If you go to battery health, on this page you can enable smart charging. Okay, this next tip is kind of just a word of advice, something you should switch on day one that isn't already switched on. And it's this: go into your settings, go to notifications and quick settings, scroll down, and then this is the very important setting you need to switch on. Unless you want people to be able to read your notifications whilst your phone is locked. So with this setting enabled, you'll be able to see when you get notifications on the lock screen, but you won't be able to read them in their entirety, which I think is the best approach personally. Okay, so nowadays smartphones have become so intelligent, so advanced, they can do so much, but never forget, it is still a phone. And here's a way to improve its abilities to work as a telephone. Within your settings, if you scroll down to sounds and vibrations, go to that, and then scroll down again, you should see clear voice right here. This is a feature that's switched off on day one that I recommend you switch on. It essentially uses AI algorithms to eliminate background noise, for example, road noise, traffic noise, train noise, that kind of stuff. I really don't see much of a downside to switching this on straight away. So you know, there is a rising crime that's happening in a lot of big cities these days, and that's people just literally snatching phones out of people's hands and riding off on an electric scooter or bike. And while it's kind of hard to see this coming, what you can do is put in some safety measures to help protect your device and your personal stuff if someone does try to steal your phone one day. And here's how to do that. Go into your settings, safety and emergency. Within your settings, scroll down to where you see security and privacy. And then here, tap on device unlock. And this is where you can find the hidden theft detection, theft protection feature. So if you tap on this, you'll see there's two switches, theft detection lock. This enables a Google feature that can detect if your phone has been snatched and is moving quickly away. And also you can switch on offline device lock. So this just gives you the ability to lock the device remotely, even when it's offline. You can also set up the remote lock here. So if you do enable this feature, you can manually go to this website here on another device or computer and remotely lock your phone. You ever heard the saying, winter is coming? Well, it is. And sooner or later, if you live in a cold country like England, you're going to need to wear gloves. And when you're wearing gloves, your phone is basically impossible to use unless you have some kind of special gloves or something. But there is a special feature here on the OnePlus Nord 5 that can make life easier in these cold weather conditions. If you swipe down from the top, go to accessibility and convenience, and then here you will find the gloves mode. This won't work with very thick gloves, but it will work with regular ones. So if you do live in a cold weather country, then you probably want to switch this on. And if you live in a country where it's hot all the time, well then, lucky you. Now, something that's quite rare on a lot of other popular smartphones, in fact, it's very rare, is the IR blaster. This phone has one, and it means that it can control pretty much any TV, air conditioning unit, anything that uses infrared pretty much. So if you do have any stuff like that, like a fan or anything, then if you spend some time on day one setting this up, trust me, you're going to save a lot of time searching for remote controls later on. Here's how you can access this feature. If you swipe up, look for the IR remote app. On this page, you can hit the plus here and choose what it is you want to control. I'm going to go fan. And here you can search for the model of the fan that you're looking to control. And then you just follow the steps to set it up. And you can add several of these to your one app. That way you can control all of your infrared devices in your house right from your phone. You'll never have to look for a remote again. So thank you for making it all the way to tip 15. And as a reward for staying this long, I do have some bonus quick-fire tips for you guys. So let's run through these real quick. Here's a way to make your Nord 5 feel even faster. Even if your friend has the same phone, your phone will appear to be quicker if you do this. Go to your settings, go to home screen and lock screen, scroll to advanced visual effects, and switch this on. Also go to animation effect and set this to enhanced. So now opening and closing apps will appear to happen much more quickly, and also folders as well. Okay, this one's great for anyone who sets up their phone on the stand to watch videos whilst cooking or doing anything like washing dishes or something. Go into your settings, scroll all the way down to accessibility and convenience. On this page here, if you scroll all the way down, you will see gestures and motions, and if you scroll down here, you'll see air gestures. If you switch this on, you can now control your phone without actually ever having to touch the screen, and you can learn all of the gestures right here with this little tutorial. It does take a little bit of practice, but it could prove to be extremely useful. Staying within the gestures and motions section, there is another feature here which is very, very useful. So if you scroll down, you will see the flip to mute incoming calls. So if you do get a phone call, your phone's on loud, you can just flip it over and that will mute that call, so you don't have to hear that noise. Okay, staying within the settings menu, this time we're going to go to sound and vibration. Here you'll see app specific volume. So whenever this is active, if you hit the volume rock at the side, you'll see this little extra setting here, which will allow you to customize sound for specific apps. So you can have one specific volume for YouTube and then another specific volume for all your system sounds. And more settings will pop up if there are more apps open in the background. So you've probably noticed I've done quite a bit of customization to this phone already, and you can learn how to do all of that in part 2 of this 2-part video series. But I'm going to show you real quick how you can change the system colors. So this is the colors within the quick settings menu and also the regular settings menu. Right now it has this green accent. Let me show you how to do that. So within the settings, if you go to wallpaper and style, scroll down and go to colors. Here you can grab colors from the wallpaper. That's what I've done. That's why there's a green accent. And you can choose different color schemes. And if you want to, you can actually create your own custom one, or you can use the featured ones. And you can use these little windows up top to see how it affects the system. Once you've done that, now you'll notice all of the quick settings have changed. You jump into the settings and all of the main settings have also changed. In fact, I think this is better than what I had set up previously because it separates the different categories with colors here. So I showed you guys how to clone apps and how to create a clone space, but there's also another way to create a similar effect, but for a second user, let's say your kids or something. If you want to let them play Fortnite on your phone, for example, what you might want to do is this. Within your settings, if you go to users and accounts at the bottom, at the top go to multiple users, and then here switch this on. You can now create guests accounts, give it a name, even an image, and then they can have their own space on your device. The only thing to be mindful of here is how much storage they're using. One important thing to remember is how to get back to this page, because this is where you need to be in order to switch between the accounts. And here is the final day one setting to look at, and this is very important in my opinion. If you swipe down, go to settings and go to home screen and lock screen, scroll all the way down, you'll see this section here that says lock screen signature. This will be readable on your lock screen even when your phone is fully locked. And if you do happen to lose your phone one day What you might want to do is put some important information here, or a second contact number, or a friend or family's phone number who someone can contact if they do find your phone and they're not a complete because that way one day maybe you'll get your phone back. And if you don't, here is the final tip. Go to security and privacy. Here, go to device finders, make sure your Find Hub is on, tap on this, open the Find Hub on the web, make sure you copy this address and send it to yourself so you have this website on file. That way you can track down your phone as quickly as possible. So I appreciate you guys for watching this one. If you want to check out part 2, that's on screen right now. And if you haven't subscribed yet, well then,
make it so.
And if you've just done that, I will see you in the next one. Don't be late.